Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to History at War, where we embark on a captivating journey through the annals of history. Today, we delve into one of the most effective and feared combat divisions in the history of the Heer within the Wehrmacht, the Großdeutschland Division. Originally, the unit began as a ceremonial guard in the 1920s and grew into a German army regiment by the late 1930s. In 1942, the regiment was expanded and renamed Infanterie-Division Großdeutschland, and later underwent significant reorganization, becoming Panzer Grenadier Division Großdeutschland in May 1943. In November 1944, while still a Panzer Grenadier Division, some of its subordinate units were elevated to divisional status, and the entire group of divisions was restructured as Panzerkorps Großdeutschland, and will be known as one of the most formidable forces within the Wehrmacht. The unit traces its origins back to 1921, when the WWII Regiment Berlin, a guard unit for the city of Berlin, was established. Initially, it was responsible for ceremonial and representative duties, like parades and guard duties in the capital. Over time, it evolved and expanded, eventually becoming the Kommando der Wachtruppe. In 1939, at the start of the year, Hitler ordered its renaming to Infantry Regiment Großdeutschland. Unlike other German army regiments, which were raised from specific regions, Großdeutschland recruited soldiers from all across the nation. The unit was officially activated on June 14, 1939, with a celebratory parade through the streets of Berlin. The Großdeutschland Regiment found itself embroiled in some of the most significant battles of World War II. It was in France in 1940 that the regiment showcased its prowess in combat, impressing its superiors with its skill and effectiveness. When Barbarossa, the German invasion of the Soviet Union, began, the Großdeutschland Regiment was attached to Panzer Group II. In 1941 to 1942, the Großdeutschland Division was commanded by Major General Walter Hornlein. He led the division during its engagements on the Eastern Front. In the early stages of the campaign, they played a critical role in the lightning-fast advances and encountered fierce resistance from the Soviet forces. The regiment's soldiers showed immense courage and adaptability, proving their mettle in the harsh and unforgiving conditions of the Eastern Front. However, in late 1941, the regiment faced one of its most challenging and brutal tests during the Battle of Moscow. Engaged in extremely vicious fighting, the soldiers fought well but suffered heavy casualties. Their ranks were severely depleted, and by the last day of February 1942, only the Rifle Battalion Großdeutschland remained. Acknowledging the need to rebuild their strength, the decision was made to disband the remaining Rifle Battalion and reorganize the unit. From reinforcements arriving from Neuruppin, 2 new battalions were formed, and thus, the new Großdeutschland Regiment was born. Moving to Orel, the revamped regiment continued to prove its effectiveness on the battlefield. On the 1st of April 1942, during a regimental parade at Rechitza, an announcement was made, elevating the former Infantry Regiment Großdeutschland to a full Infantry Division Großdeutschland. This expansion reflected the recognition of the regiment's exceptional combat skills and the need for powerful motorized formations for the upcoming summer offensives. While stationed near Orel for rest and refitting, the Infantry Regiment Großdeutschland underwent significant reorganization and expansion, transforming into Infanterie-Division Großdeutschland, MOT. The original regiment was redesignated as Infantry Regiment Großdeutschland I and was bolstered by the addition of the newly formed Infantry Regiment Großdeutschland II. The upgrade to divisional status also brought in additional support units, including a Panzer battalion, an assault gun battalion, and increased flak, artillery, and engineering assets. After the reorganization, the Großdeutschland Division was assigned to 48th Panzer Corps during the opening phases of Fall Blau, the assault on Stalingrad. The division played a crucial role in the intense and unforgiving battles to breach the formidable Soviet defenses. Despite facing fierce resistance, Großdeutschland displayed exceptional determination and skill, successfully crossing the Upper Don River and contributing to the capture of Voronezh. In August, the division was redeployed to the north bank of the Donets, where it assumed the critical role of a mobile reserve and fire brigade counterattack force. As the battle lines shifted rapidly, Großdeutschland had to be agile and ready to respond to sudden enemy offensives or support German units in need. Their versatility and combat prowess earned them the nickname Fire Brigade for their swift and effective response to critical situations. However, the relentless nature of the Eastern Front took its toll on the division. During the combined Soviet winter offensives of Operation Uranus and Operation Mars, Großdeutschland was thrust into heavy winter fighting near Ljev. The harsh conditions and determined Soviet assaults tested the division's resilience to the utmost. Engaging in brutal house-to-house combat and facing overwhelming enemy numbers, Großdeutschland fought tenaciously to hold its ground. The Ljev salient proved to be a costly battleground for the division. Sustaining heavy casualties and facing considerable pressure, Großdeutschland's combat effectiveness was significantly diminished. The division's remarkable fighting spirit, however, persisted, and it continued to resist fiercely until it was eventually withdrawn from the front lines to undergo much-needed refitting and replenishment.
In February 1943, the highly esteemed Großdeutschland Division, together with 48th Panzer Corps and the 2nd SS Panzer Corps, engaged in the intense and pivotal Third Battle of Kharkov on the Eastern Front. Amidst the frozen, unforgiving terrain, the division fought valiantly alongside other elite formations, like the 1st SS Division Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, 2nd SS Division Das Reich, and 3rd SS Division Totenkopf during these ferocious battles. Soldiers of Großdeutschland vividly recounted their experiences during this crucial offensive. Private Karl Müller, an infantryman, recalled the bone-chilling cold and relentless Soviet resistance. The freezing temperatures seemed to seep into your very soul, making every movement a struggle. The enemy's tenacity was unlike anything we had faced before, but we were resolute in pushing forward, shoulder to shoulder with our comrades from other renowned divisions, he recounted. As the battle unfolded, the combined force of Großdeutschland and the SS divisions relentlessly pressed against the Soviet lines. The sound of gunfire and the deafening roar of tanks filled the air. Battle saw fierce urban combat as the divisions advanced through the scarred streets of Kharkov. The city fell to the German forces, but the victory came at a great cost. The fighting had taken its toll on both sides, leaving behind a landscape of destruction and loss. With the fall of Kharkov, the battle-hardened Großdeutschland division was once again withdrawn from the front lines to recuperate and refit. In May 1943, the division underwent a significant upgrade, receiving armored personnel carriers and Tiger tanks. As a result, it was redesignated as the elite Panzer Grenadier Division Großdeutschland. Interestingly, after this transformation, the division boasted an impressive array of armored vehicles, surpassing the numbers found in most standard full-strength panzer divisions. The addition of armored personnel carriers brought enhanced mobility and tactical flexibility to the division's infantry forces. These carriers enabled the infantry to swiftly maneuver across the battlefield, reinforcing critical areas or launching rapid counterattacks with greater ease. Furthermore, the incorporation of Tiger tanks into their arsenal significantly bolstered the division's firepower. The Tiger tanks were known for their exceptional armor and formidable 88mm cannons, making them formidable adversaries on the battlefield. With such powerful tanks at their disposal, Panzer Grenadier Division Großdeutschland became even more adept at engaging enemy armor and fortifications. In the midst of the intense and grueling battles during Operation Citadel, the newly re-equipped Großdeutschland Division demonstrated their determination on the Eastern Front. Despite facing technical setbacks with their Panther tanks, the division pressed on, making hard-fought progress into the Kursk salient. Unfortunately, they couldn't participate in the famous tank battle of Prokhorovka due to the mechanical issues plaguing their Panther tanks. Throughout the campaign, the division's primary objective was to play a major role alongside the 2nd SS Panzer Corps in severing the Kursk salient. The Großdeutschland division intended to spearhead the assault on the southern shoulder of the salient, breaking through enemy defenses with their superior firepower and armor. However, the Panther tanks faced serious technical problems, including engine fires and mechanical breakdowns, which left many of them disabled even before reaching the battlefield. This was a significant blow to the division's capability to fully utilize the potential of these formidable tanks. Despite the setbacks, the Großdeutschland division persevered, engaging the enemy with their remaining assets and infantry forces. Their relentless determination and combat prowess allowed them to claim the destruction of over 260+ enemy tanks and a considerable amount of other enemy military equipment and material during the course of the battle. The division's performance in Operation Citadel cemented its reputation as an elite combat force on the Eastern Front. However, after weeks of intense fighting, Their resources and manpower were stretched thin, leading to their eventual withdrawal to Tomarovka on the 18th of July, 1943, for much-needed rest and regrouping. While the Großdeutschland Division couldn't achieve all of their objectives and missed the opportunity to participate in the legendary tank battle of Prokhorovka, their unwavering dedication and contributions significantly impacted the outcome of the overall offensive.
After the Kursk offensive was cancelled, the Großdeutschland Division was reassigned to Heeresgruppe Mitte, resuming its crucial role as a mobile reserve. During this period, the Tiger Tank Company was significantly expanded, evolving into a formidable 3 battalion of the Panzer Regiment. The division was eager to prove the prowess of their new tank battalion in combat. In the following months, Großdeutschland saw intense fighting around Karachev, where their infantry and armored forces collaborated to repel determined Soviet attacks. Their tenacity and skill in combat demonstrated the effectiveness of their combined arms approach. In late August, the division was transferred back to the 48th Panzer Corps, where it continued to be an invaluable asset in countering enemy offensives. Throughout the rest of 1943, the division found itself engaged in a fighting withdrawal from eastern Ukraine, as they faced relentless enemy pressure. In the book The Forgotten Soldier, the pages unfold to reveal the brutal defensive battles that took place from Ukraine during a lesser-known chapter of World War II. This gripping narrative sheds light on the untold stories of soldiers who faced unimaginable horrors while defending different sectors on the mass retreat west. It was beyond brutal. Battles raged around strategic locations like Kharkov, Belgorod, and finally on the banks of the Dnieper River. Despite the constant pressure, Großdeutschland fought resolutely, making a stand against strong enemy forces near Mikurin Rog, east of Krivoy Rog, as the year came to a close. It was during this challenging period that the division earned a well-deserved nickname, Die Feuerwehr, the Fire Brigade. This title symbolized their reputation as a swift and highly reliable unit, often called upon to swiftly reinforce critical sectors of the front lines, just like a fire brigade responding promptly to emergencies. Their ability to arrive at critical junctures and decisively engage the enemy was hailed as instrumental in turning the tide of battle in favor of the German forces. In early January 1944, Großdeutschland remained entrenched in the Krivoy Rog area, continuing their fierce fighting amidst harsh winter conditions. As they fought to hold their ground, the division encountered various challenges, but their determination to prevail remained unwavering. During this period, a crucial development occurred as 1st Company of Panzer Regiment 26, equipped with the formidable Panther tanks, joined the ranks of Panzer Regiment Großdeutschland. The division seized this opportunity to bolster its armored capabilities, recognizing the Panther's superiority on the battlefield. As part of their efforts to strengthen and modernize, Großdeutschland's 1st Battalion was sent to France for rest and refit, enabling them to train with the new Panther tanks. They eagerly awaited the return of their trained and upgraded forces, which would rejoin the division after the Normandy invasion. Over the ensuing months, Großdeutschland remained in constant motion, racing from one critical sector to another across the Eastern Front, tackling emergencies head-on. Panzer Regiment Großdeutschland saw action in the fierce battles to relieve the Cherkasy Pocket in late January 1944, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to supporting their comrades in need. Meanwhile, the rest of the division was engaged in heavy fighting stretching from the Dniester to northern Bessarabia. Amidst the relentless attacks from the enemy, Großdeutschland showcased their resilience and adaptability, fighting valiantly to hold the line and push back against Soviet advances. On the 4th of March 1944, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Ukrainian fronts launched a massive attack on the north, central, and southern flanks of Army Group South. In response to the mounting pressure, Großdeutschland was redeployed to Kirovgrad, reinforcing the weak parts of the line and repelling the enemy's advances. By mid-March, the division shifted its focus towards the Dniester River, strategically positioning themselves to confront the enemy's movements. As they advanced further into Romanian territory by the end of March, Großdeutschland continued to exhibit their formidable combat prowess, earning respect on the battlefield. In April 1944, Großdeutschland, a part of the 57th Panzer Corps, engaged in defensive battles near Iasi, including the First Battle of Targu Frumos. Slowly retreating to Targul Frumos in Moldavia, the division fiercely fought in the region for over a month, facing intense enemy pressure. A renewed Soviet offensive on the 2nd of May aimed to break through Großdeutschland's defenses and target the vital Romanian oil fields. The division valiantly defended its positions during the Second Battle of Targu Frumos, a critical defensive action that caught the attention of several NATO studies during the Cold War due to its significance. In mid-May, the division's infantry and reconnaissance units were upgraded with armored personnel carriers, Schützenpanzerwagen, and other armored vehicles, enhancing their mobility and combat capabilities. The Fusilier regiments were downsized from 4 battalions to 3 as part of a reorganization to optimize their efficiency. Sent back to the front, Großdeutschland participated in the fighting around WWII, demonstrating their adaptability and resilience in the face of ongoing hostilities. After a brief rest in early July, the division was once again thrust into heavy fighting in northern Romania, where they displayed massive determination in confronting the enemy. In late July, the division was transferred to East Prussia, where they found themselves engaged in intense battles that extended to the Baltic states. Despite their valiant efforts, Großdeutschland endured immense casualties in both manpower and equipment during these harrowing campaigns. The division suffered heavy losses during the battles in the Memel bridgehead, leading to their virtual annihilation. In The Forgotten Soldier, readers are thrust into the harrowing landscape of Memel, Prussia, a haunting tale that sheds light on one of the darkest episodes of the war. This book recounts the distressing events that unfolded in the city as thousands of civilians were left stranded amidst the chaos. Left to the Soviets, Memel during 1944 was absolute hell. In a desperate attempt to evacuate as many soldiers and civilians as possible, thousands embarked on a perilous journey to reach Memel, the only escape from the Baltic states. The escape involved a treacherous race against the advancing Red Army, with many facing constant dangers, including enemy attacks, difficult terrain, and harsh weather conditions. As the Soviet forces closed in on Memel, the situation became increasingly dire. Ultimately, despite the efforts of the German troops, the Memel bridgehead was unable to hold, and many soldiers and civilians were left with no choice but to surrender or be taken captive by the advancing Soviet forces. For those who did manage to reach Memel in time, their escape became a narrow window of opportunity. The ferocity of the Eastern Front took a toll on Großdeutschland, and their sacrifices in defense of German territories were not without significant costs. As the war progressed, by March 1945, the Panzergrenadier Division Großdeutschland had experienced a significant reduction in its strength, with its numbers dwindling to around 4,000 men. Amidst the chaotic collapse of the Memel bridgehead, these survivors managed to escape by ferry and landed at Pillau, immediately being thrust back into combat. Nevertheless, the division's fate was sealed, and the battles around Pillau eventually led to its complete destruction by the 25th of April 1945. Only a few hundred of the division's men were able to reach Schleswig-Holstein and surrender to British forces, while the majority were left behind, facing a dire fate of surrendering to the advancing Soviet forces. Many of these men endured an uncertain future, often finding themselves confined to harsh labor camps under Soviet control. Amidst the tumultuous end of the war, the remnants of Großdeutschland played a role in the formation of the Panzergrenadier Division Kurmark, which fought tenaciously during the war's final months. The soldiers of both Brandenburg and Kurmark units were entitled to wear the prestigious Großdeutschland insignia, serving as a symbol of their shared history and camaraderie within the ranks. And that brings our video to a close. Thank you for watching this gripping video on the storied history of the Großdeutschland Division and their heroic combat experiences during World War II. If you found this content insightful and want to delve deeper into the fascinating details of this elite division, I highly recommend checking out the book, The Forgotten Soldier. This remarkable read provides in-depth insights into the bravery and resilience of the soldiers who served in the Großdeutschland Division. The book will be linked below. Remember to check out our Patreon and Instagram below. Massive thank you to our Patreons and our viewers. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more compelling historical content. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to bringing you more captivating stories from the annals of history. See you guys soon.